All right, thank you so much for watching the first part. Now let's come to the second part of this lecture. And in this lecture, we are going to, as I told you before, that we are going to study tips of improving readability. So the first point is varying your sentence length. Varying sentence length is a good way to maintain reader interest and control the emphasis given to major or minor points. So look the ways to complete or combine the mixture of the sentences that are short. I mean up to 15 words or so on, or medium up to 15 to or 25 words, or a long more than 25 words. So each sentence length has advantages. Short sentences can persist quickly and are easier to non-native speakers and translators to interpret. And medium length sentences are useful for showing the relationship among the ideas. And long sentences are often the best way to convey complex ideas, to list a number of related points, or to summarize or preview the information. So, of course, each sentence length has disadvantages as well. So, too many short sentences in a row can make your writing feel choppy or disconnected. Or medium sentences can lack the punch of short sentences and the informative power of longer sentences. And long sentences are usually harder to understand than short sentences, because they are packed with the information. They also harder to skim when readers are just looking for the key points in a hurry. If you look at the second tip for improving readability, that is keeping your paragraph short. It means that large blocks of text can be visually daunting, particularly on screening. Some keep, like for example, if you keep your paragraph as short as possible, so unless you break up your thoughts somehow, you will end up with a lengthy paragraph, and that will intimidate even the most didactic reader. So short paragraphs, roughly like 100 words or fewer. This paragraph has 78 words, for example, are easier to read than long ones, and they make your reading look inviting. So you can also emphasize ideas by isolating them in a short and forceful paragraph as well. If we look at another slide here, so using lists and bullets to clarify and emphasize. So in some instant, a list can be more effective than conventional sentences and paragraphs. Lists can show the sequence of your ideas, heighten or their impact visuality, and increase the likelihood that readers will find your key point. In addition, lists can help simplify complex subjects, highlight the main points, enable skimming, and give readers a visual break. So compare these two approaches to the same information: narrative and list. If we look at here, uh, so when actually creating a list, so you can separate items or numbers, letters, or bullets. So any kind of graphical element that precedes each item. So bullets are generally preferred over numbers unless the list is in some logical sequences or ranking or specific list items will be referred to later. So make your list easy to read by making all items parallel and keeping individual items as short as possible. Also be sure to introduce your lists clearly so that people know that what they are about to read actually. If you look at the next tip, adding headings and subheadings. So here a heading is a brief title that tells readers about the content of the section that follows, and subheading indicates sub sections within a major section. So complex documents may have several levels of subheadings. Headings and subheadings help in three important ways. They show readers at a glance how the material is organized. They can call attention to important points, and they highlight connections and translations, we can say, yeah, transitions between the ideas, we can say. So descriptive headings such as we have cost considerations, so simply identify a topic without suggesting anything more, and informative headings such as redesigning material a flow to cut production costs, so give the reader some context and may point toward any conclusions or recommendations that you offer in this section. Well written informative headings are self contained, which means readers can skim just the headings and subheadings and understand them without reading the rest of the document, whether types of the headings you choose or keep them brief and grammatically parallel. In this slide, we are going to deal with editing for clarity and conciseness. So after you have revived and revised your messages for readability, your next step is to make sure your message is as clear, as concise, and as concise as possible. So editing for clarity and conciseness. Editing for clarity. First of all, we will discuss about it. Make sure that every sentence conveys the meaning you intend, and the readers can extract your intended meaning without needing to read the sentence more than once. To ensure clarity, look closely at your paragraph organization, sentence structure, and word choices. So, can readers make sense of the related sentences in a paragraph? Is the meaning of each sentence easy to grasp? Is every word clear and unambiguous? So, meaning it does have it does not have any risk of being interpreted in many or more than one way. If you look at here in the next slide, uh, I have thoroughly discussed. So break up overall. First of all, we will say that break up overly the long sentences. So first of all, we will have the following tips. In these tips, we will look at how these things are discussed. Okay. How we will make clarity. So break up overly long sentences. And the second point is rewrite hanging sentences. Hanging sentences mean that pulling back from making an absolutely certain or definitive statement about a topic. So granted, sometimes you have to write may or seems to avoid stating a judgment as a fact. So however, when you hang, too often or without good reason, you come across as being unsure of what you are saying. The third point is imposed parallelism. Uh, Making your writing parallel means expressing two or more similar ideas using the same grammatical structure. So, doing so helps your audience understand that the ideas are related and are more similar and important. Correct juggling modifiers. Juggling modifiers, like sometimes a modifier is not just an adjective or an adverb, but an entire phrase modifying a noun or a verb. So be careful not to leave this type of modifier juggling with no connection to the subject of the sentence. Reword long noun sequences. It means that when multiple nouns are strung together as modifiers, so the resulting sentence can be hard to read. So, in the next slide, if you talk about using technology to revise your message, uh, we will have a good discussion over it. And that discussion is that when it's time to revise and polish your message, so be sure to use the revision feature in the software uh, to full advantage. For instance, revision tracking uh, and revision tracking means look for a feature called track changes or sometimes or something similar, and commenting show proposed editing changes and provide a history of a document's revision. So in Microsoft Word, for example, revisions appear in a different color, giving you a chance to review changes before accepting or rejecting them. Adobe Acrobat lets you attach comments to PDF files. Using revision marks and commenting features is also a great way to keep track of editing changes by team members. So both Word and Acrobat let you use different colors for each reviewers. You can keep everyone comments separate. So four other software tools and functions can help you find the best words and use them accordingly. The first is a spell checker compares your document with an electronic dictionary, highlights unrecognized words, and suggests correct spellings. Checkers are wonderful for finding types, but they are no substitute for careful reviewing or revising. For example, if you use dear when you mean to use there, uh, your spell checker might not notice because there is spelled correctly, although a grammar checker might. So the second point is uh, a grammar checker. Actually, a grammar checker is a grammar checker tries to do your grammar what a spell checker does for your spelling, because the program does not have a clue about what you are trying to say, but and it can't tell you whether you have said it clearly or completely. However, grammar checkers can highlight items you should consider changing, such as passive voice, long sentences, and words that tend to be misused. The third software is a computer-based treasures or treasuries. So these offers alternatives to a particular word. The best uses of the teachers or treasures. Uh, the spelling is THESAURUS. So are to find fresh, interesting words when you have been using the same words too many times, and to find words the most accurately conveying your message. So these are some of the actually things, or specifically the softwares or the technologies you have to use. And the fourth is a style checker. So can monitor your word and sentences choice and suggest alternatives that might produce more effective writing. So style checker options can range from basic issues such as spelling out numbers and using contraction to more subjective matters such as sentence structure and the use of technical terminology. So the next slide will be discussed in the next video, the part 3. So you should also watch part 3 in order to understand all the lecture very deeply. So we are going to discuss part 3 in the next in the next video, and that is designing for readability. So keep watching the video, and thank you very much for listening.